Hey everyone. I've never really posted stuff like this before, but I figured this might be the place for it. Maybe someone's been through the same thing, or maybe it just feels good to finally say it out loud. My name's Daniel, but most people just call me Dan. I'm 38, live just outside of Columbus, Ohio. I've been married, or was married, to my now ex-wife, Rachel, for 7 years. No kids, thankfully. We met through friends, the usual story. She was funny, sharp, beautiful. And at the time, it felt like she actually saw me. You know what I mean? I work in IT for a mid-sized logistics company. Nothing flashy, but steady income, good benefits. Rachel was doing freelance graphic design, mostly small business logos and occasional work for real estate agents. She worked from home, which made sense. She liked her space, hated office politics. I respected that. Early on, we decided to open a joint account. Made sense. Bills, groceries, date nights, we agreed to keep most of our income flowing through it. I had my own checking for personal stuff, and so did she, but the joint account was for us, or so we said. For the first 5 years, it worked fine. At least I thought it did. But something shifted about 8 months ago. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. Rachel started acting off. Not distant exactly, more like distracted. She was still there, but not really present. I'd come home from work and she'd be glued to her laptop, saying she had a deadline, or she'd be on her phone texting someone and quickly locking the screen when I walked by. I figured she was just stressed or burnt out from a tough client. Happens. I didn't want to pry, but then little things started adding up. One day I noticed a payment on our shared credit card for $580 at some upscale salon. I asked her about it and she shrugged it off, said it was a birthday gift for her friend Ashley. I didn't really buy it, but I let it go. A week later, another charge, $212 at some boutique I'd never heard of. When I asked, she said she returned most of it. I started checking the joint account more often, just to stay on top of things. That's when I noticed the pattern. Money was disappearing. Not in huge chunks, but bit by bit. A few hundred here, 500 there. The thing is, Rachel was the one who usually managed the household expenses. She paid the rent, utilities, even scheduled the credit card payments. We had a system. I transferred my portion into the joint account every payday, and she took care of the rest. It worked for years. But now, I was seeing transfers going out that weren't bills or groceries or anything normal, and I wasn't getting answers. I brought it up one night while we were having dinner. Just asked her straight up, "Hey, I noticed some transfers on the account. Everything okay?" She barely looked up from her phone. "Oh, must have been something auto-scheduled. I'll check." She never did. At that point, I knew I couldn't just ignore it anymore. Something was up, and I needed to know the truth. So I did what any halfway decent IT guy would do. I logged into our bank account history from my work computer on a lunch break, exported the last 3 months into a spreadsheet and went line by line. Most of it looked normal: electric bill, groceries, gas. But then I found a big one, $4,200, transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Just labeled, external ACH transfer. That was 2 weeks ago. I checked again the next day, another one, smaller this time. $1,800. Same external account. I wasn't angry yet. Not exactly. More like stunned. I printed the records and folded them into my coat pocket. That night, I waited for the right time. When she was sitting on the couch watching some reality show with a glass of wine, I sat down next to her and pulled out the paper. "I need to ask you something, Rachel." "What's this?" I showed her the transfers. She looked at them, blinked once, then twice. "Oh, it's nothing," she said. "Just moving some savings." "Into what?" I asked. She paused. "Just an account I use for taxes and stuff." I didn't press her, but I didn't believe her either. That was the night I started looking deeper. It didn't take long to figure it out. She had a completely separate checking account at a different bank, one I never knew about. She'd been transferring money into it quietly for months, maybe longer. When I checked back even further in the records, I found transfers going back 6 months. In total, over $12,000 moved behind my back. I didn't tell her what I found. I just started planning. Now, before you judge me, I want you to understand something. I wasn't trying to get revenge. Not at first. I just wanted to protect what was left. But once I realized how deliberate she had been, how sneaky, that's when the switch flipped. I thought we were a team. Turns out she was playing solo the whole time. And the thing is, she forgot one important detail. That car she drove every day, the black Subaru Outback with the roof rack and heated seats, still registered in my name. So yeah, the car. I bought it 2 years ago, a 2019 Subaru Outback. We needed something reliable, good for winter, big enough for road trips. Rachel loved it, drove it way more than I did. She picked the color, the interior, the extra features, all that. But when we bought it, the dealership only needed one name on the title. I paid the down payment from my personal account, and the financing was in my name. We never changed it. She used to joke, "It's basically mine though." And I always said, "Sure, just don't crash it." Now, that car was leverage. After I found out about the hidden account and the $12,000 she took, I didn't blow up. I didn't confront her again. I just started planning. Quietly. First thing I did was open my own checking and savings at a different bank. I stopped transferring money into the joint account. She didn't notice for about 2 weeks. I guess she thought the automatic paycheck deposit was still happening. That's on her. I also checked with the DMV to confirm the car's registration. Yup, all under Daniel T. Harper. That's me. No co-owner, no lien holder anymore. I'd paid it off last year with a bonus from work. Legally, that car was mine. So I waited. I wanted to make sure she didn't move more money before I made my next move. I checked the account every day. Finally, one Tuesday morning, I saw another transfer out, $2,300. That was it. I was done. I called off work that day. I waited until Rachel left for her usual yoga and coffee routine with her friend Ashley. 9:30 a.m. sharp. Like clockwork. As soon as she pulled out of the driveway, I got in my old Honda Civic, the one I kept parked around the corner, and followed her at a distance. She parked in front of Ashley's apartment like always. I waited 5 minutes to be sure, then circled back to where the Outback was parked and took it. No drama, no noise. Just opened it with the spare key I'd kept in the garage, got in, and drove off. Straight to the dealership where I'd bought it. I had called ahead, told them I was looking to sell and asked what paperwork I'd need. Title? Check. Registration? Check. ID? Of course. They inspected it, made an offer on the spot. A little lower than I hoped, but fair. I signed the papers, handed over the keys, and they cut me a check right there. Just over $16,000. By noon, I was sitting at my new bank, depositing that check into my fresh savings account. The manager smiled and asked if I'd like to set up a high-yield savings. I said sure. Why not? Then I went home and waited. Rachel didn't come back until late afternoon. I was in the kitchen making coffee when she walked in, looking confused and holding her phone. "Where's the car?" she asked. I looked at her, calm. "I sold it." She laughed, like I was kidding. "No, seriously. It's not outside. Did you take it to get serviced or something?" "No," I said. "I sold it. This morning." The smile dropped. "You're joking." I pulled out the paperwork and dropped it on the counter. Title was in my name. I had every right. She stared at it for a few seconds, blinking like she couldn't process it. You can't just sell my car." I raised an eyebrow. "Your car? Funny. That's not what the paperwork says." She looked like she was going to explode. Her hands clenched. She grabbed her phone. "I'm calling the cops." "Go ahead," I said. "Want me to call them for you? I've got the bill of sale, signed title, and bank deposit receipt right here." She didn't call. Instead, she started yelling, accusing me of being controlling, of being petty, of violating her privacy. That last one really got me. I pulled out the printouts of the bank transfers, every one of them, and laid them out next to the car documents. "Privacy," I said. "You emptied our joint account behind my back, lied to my face, and you're mad that I sold a car that you never even legally owned." She went quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "You had no right to do this." I just shrugged. "You had no right to steal from me. But here we are." She grabbed her purse and stormed out. I didn't follow her. I didn't say anything else. I just sipped my coffee and looked out the window, watching her call someone for a ride. Probably Ashley. Later that night, she texted me from her mom's place. Said she'd be staying there until things calmed down. I told her that was fine. Actually, I encouraged it. I started changing passwords. Unlinked her from all the shared accounts. Called the credit card company to remove her as an authorized user. Canceled the gym membership that was under my name but she used. Even removed her from my Spotify family plan. Petty? Maybe. But I was done. So after Rachel stormed out, things were quiet. For a few days anyway. I didn't hear anything from her besides that one text saying she was staying at her mom's.
No επάλεγει. No explanation.
Just silence. I gotta admit, it felt kind of peaceful. For the first time in months, the house was calm. I didn't have to walk on eggshells, wonder if money was going missing, or try to guess what mood she'd be in when I got home. I could finally breathe. But of course, it didn't last. About a week later, I got served. Not joking. Middle of the workday, some guy shows up at my office and hands me a manila envelope. Inside, legal paperwork. Rachel was filing for divorce. And not just that. She was claiming I had financially abused her. Couldn't believe it. She was asking for spousal support, half of all assets, including my retirement account, and compensation for emotional distress caused by the unauthorized sale of shared marital property. Yep, she was trying to sue me for selling the Outback. I went straight home, grabbed every folder I had, car title, sale receipt, account statements, bank transfers, and called up my cousin Mark, who's a lawyer out in Dayton. He doesn't do divorce law, but he gave me the number of someone who does. Karen McNeil, tough as nails, and not the type to play nice. I scheduled a consultation for the next morning. Karen read through the papers, nodded slowly, and then looked up at me and said, "She's bluffing. Don't worry, we can shut this down." Turns out, Ohio is an equitable distribution state, meaning assets are divided fairly, not necessarily 50-50ths. And the car? Completely mine, both before and after the marriage. I had the receipts to prove it. Rachel hadn't contributed a single dollar toward that car. The joint account? That could get messy. But since she withdrew most of the money after things got rocky and without my consent, we had a good shot at showing that she acted in bad faith. Karen said, "We'll file a counterclaim. If she wants to play hardball, we'll show her what the law actually says." So that's what we did. And I kept my mouth shut. I didn't text Rachel. Didn't post anything on social media. Didn't even tell mutual friends. I let the lawyer do her thing. A few weeks later, we had our first mediation session. Rachel showed up with her own lawyer. Some guy who looked like he'd rather be golfing. She didn't even look at me. Just sat there with her arms crossed like I was the one who betrayed her. Karen went first. She laid everything out. The car sale, legal, documented, paid off with my income, registered in my name. The joint account, with detailed records showing over $14,000, moved into a separate personal account in Rachel's name only. No bills paid, no shared expenses. Just taken. Rachel's lawyer tried to argue that she was creating an emergency fund in case I became unstable. Karen shut that down real quick. She never mentioned abuse, never filed a police report, no protective order, and no joint discussion about separating funds. She acted unilaterally and concealed the transactions. That's not precaution, that's deception. It got quiet in the room after that. Rachel didn't say anything. She just stared at the table. Then her lawyer leaned in and said, "Perhaps we should take a break." We stepped out into the hallway. Karen looked at me and said, "She didn't expect you to fight back." I nodded. She thought I'd roll over. That was her mistake. The second mediation didn't go much better for her. Her lawyer started pulling back, clearly trying to steer things toward a settlement. Rachel still tried to push for spousal support, saying she'd given up full-time work for our marriage. But Karen had already dug up Rachel's freelancer income, her clients, her invoices. Turns out Rachel made a lot more money than she told me. She just funneled it through that secret account. Yeah. She was hiding income the whole time. At that point, I honestly started feeling less angry and more embarrassed. Like, how did I miss this for so long? Anyway, after about 6 weeks of back and forth, they finally agreed to settle. No spousal support. We each kept our own accounts. She got to keep the $4,000 or so left in hers. I kept everything in mine. She gave up any claim to my 401k, and I agreed not to pursue her for the money she took. Felt like a win. Not because I came out ahead financially, though I did, but because I didn't let her walk all over me. I stood up for myself, and for once, someone else saw what was really going on. Rachel moved out officially a few days after the settlement was signed. I gave her 2 weeks to collect her stuff. She took most of her clothes, some kitchen things, and random junk I didn't care about. Left behind a drawer full of skincare products, 3 broken phone chargers, and a pile of old magazines. Fitting, honestly. She texted me one last time. Something like, "I hope one day you realize how much you hurt me." I didn't reply. Not because I didn't have something to say, but because sometimes silence says more than any text ever could. The night after she finally left for good, I sat on the couch alone. No noise. No tension. No Rachel slamming drawers or pretending not to hear me when I walked in. Just me. And silence. You'd think I'd feel relief. And I did. But I also felt something else. Kind of a hollow ache in the background. Like when a loud AC finally shuts off and the quiet feels almost too loud. I didn't miss her. Not the real her. Not the one who lied to me and drained our account. But I missed who I thought she was. The version of her I believed in for too long. That part stung. Anyway, I gave myself one day to mope. Just one. Ordered a pizza, drank a couple beers, watched reruns of The Office until I fell asleep on the couch. The next morning, I started cleaning. Not just picking up, I mean deep cleaning. I wanted to reclaim the space. Took down all the framed couple photos. Boxed up the his and hers junk from the bathroom. Tossed 3 half-used shampoo bottles she'd left behind. Deleted the shared calendar off my phone. Unfollowed her on social media. Blocked her, actually, just to be safe. It felt good, like I was erasing old files from a cluttered hard drive. I started going to the gym again, too. Not in a revenge body kind of way, just because I needed the routine. Something physical. Something simple. A few weeks went by. Then, out of nowhere, she texted me again. It was a Thursday night, around 9:45 p.m. Just a single message. Can we talk? I feel like we ended everything too fast. I stared at it for a while. My stomach didn't drop. My hands didn't shake. That's how I knew I was over it. I just didn't care. I didn't reply. The next day, she called. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message, trying to sound casual. Hey, Dan, just wondering if you're open to maybe grabbing coffee sometime. No pressure. Just, would be nice to clear the air. I've been thinking about things. I didn't return the call. I wasn't trying to punish her. I just didn't see the point. What was left to say? She lied. She took from me. She tried to spin the whole thing around like I was the villain. She had her chance to be honest, to fix things, and she used that chance to try to screw me in court. A week later, she showed up at my front door. I was working from home, still in sweatpants, drinking bad coffee from a chipped mug. Heard the knock, opened it, and there she was, standing on the porch in a denim jacket and sunglasses, holding a paper bag. I brought muffins, she said. I just stared at her. She sighed. Dan, please, can we talk for like 10 minutes? That's all I'm asking. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. She started into a whole speech about how everything had happened so fast, how she'd made mistakes, how we were both at fault, how she was confused and scared and didn't know how to ask for help without feeling like a failure. I let her talk. She tried to say she missed me, that she missed us. And when she stopped talking, I just asked one question. Why didn't you just talk to me back then? Instead of lying and hiding money. She looked down. I thought if I told you the truth, you'd leave me. I did, I said, but not because of the truth. I left because of the lies. She didn't respond. After a minute, she said, so, is there really no chance? No, I said. There's not. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I said it calmly, like I was reading off a grocery list. But it was the truth. And sometimes, that's the kindest thing you can give someone. She left after that. I never saw her in person again. A few mutual friends tried to stay neutral, but over time they faded out, too. Some didn't know what to believe. Others didn't want to pick sides. That's fine. I'm not bitter about it. A couple months after that, I got a card in the mail. No return address. Inside was a folded note. You were right. I just didn't want to admit it. I hope you're doing better. I didn't keep the card. I've moved on now. Not in a dramatic way. Just steadily. I still live in the same place, but it feels different now. Lighter. Quieter. I've started volunteering on weekends, helping at a local tech center that teaches basic computer skills to older folks. It's simple, but it feels good. I've also reconnected with a couple old friends I lost touch with during the marriage. We meet up for wings every other Thursday. We don't talk about the divorce much. Just laugh, complain about work, swap bad dating stories. Speaking of, I've started dating again. Nothing serious yet. Just putting myself back out there. One step at a time. And I still drive that old Honda Civic. The one I used to follow Rachel that day. It runs fine. Gets me where I need to go. Doesn't pretend to be something it's not. Kind of like me now. It's been just over a year now. Sometimes it feels like everything happened yesterday, and other times, it feels like a different life. Like I watched it in a movie instead of living it. People ask me if I'm angry. Honestly, no. I was. At first, yeah, I was furious. I wanted justice, payback, all that. But over time, the anger wore off. What stayed was something simpler: clarity. You learn a lot about yourself when someone betrays you. You learn what your limits are, what your values really mean when they get tested. I always thought I was the easygoing guy, the one who let things slide. And maybe I was, for too long. But when it really counted, I stood up. I didn't scream. I didn't smash things. I didn't post nasty rants online. I just acted. Quietly. Legally. On my terms. That's something I'm proud of. After the divorce was finalized, I went through a phase where I over-examined everything. Reread old texts. Replayed arguments in my head. Wondered if I missed some huge warning sign early on. I even thought maybe I pushed her away somehow without realizing it. But here's what my therapist, I started seeing said that really stuck with me. You can be imperfect and still not deserve to be deceived. That line hit me hard. Because I wasn't perfect. I worked too much. I didn't always check in emotionally. I assumed things were fine because there weren't any big fights. But none of that justifies what Rachel did. She made choice after choice to lie, sneak around, and blame me when it caught up to her. That's on her, not me. The car sale? People on here might say it was petty. Maybe. But it was also fair. The truth is, she never thought I'd notice. She thought she was smarter than me, that I'd stay in the dark while she built her little escape plan. But she underestimated the quiet guy, the guy who pays attention. And look, I don't wish her harm. I hope she figures herself out. I hope she grows up. But I'm not her problem anymore. I stopped trying to be the guy who fixes everything for everyone. Now, I focus on what I can control. Work's going well. I got promoted to team lead a few months ago. More responsibility, better pay, but still flexible enough that I can have a life. I've started traveling a bit, weekend road trips mostly. Hit the Smoky Mountains in the fall. Took a solo trip to Chicago just to try a deep dish pizza from a place I saw on YouTube. Worth it. I read more now. Real books, not just Reddit threads and tech blogs. Turns out, I actually like biographies. People's stories, their messes, their bounce-backs. And yeah, I'm dating again. Nothing serious yet, but it feels different this time. I'm more intentional. I look for signs, listen better, ask harder questions early on. I'm not looking for perfect. I'm just looking for real. Funny thing is, I used to be afraid of being alone. That was one of the reasons I stayed with Rachel longer than I should have. The fear of starting over, of being that guy who has to explain a failed marriage to someone new. But now, I kind of like the quiet. I like being in control of my space, my money, my peace. I don't have to share my Netflix account or explain why I'm buying another black hoodie. No passive-aggressive comments, no silent treatments. No, we need to talk at 10 p.m. on a Sunday. Just peace. And if someone comes along who fits into that peace, great. If not, I'm still good. To anyone reading this who's going through something similar, maybe you found out your partner's been hiding money, or lying, or just making you feel like you're crazy for asking honest questions. Let me say this. You're not crazy. Your gut is smarter than you think. Trust it. Also, get everything in writing. Keep receipts. Know what's in your name and what's not. And don't be afraid to talk to a lawyer, even if you're not ready to file anything. Just knowing your options gives you power. Last thing, revenge isn't about hurting someone back. It's about refusing to be the victim twice. When I sold that car, it wasn't to punish Rachel. It was to remind myself that I wasn't powerless, that I still had agency, that even if she thought she was 2 steps ahead, I could still make a move that was smart, legal, and mine to make. She drained our account. I sold the car. And in the end, I got something she never expected I would. Closure. So yeah, that's my story. Not perfect, not pretty, but mine.